Protector Symposium 5.0 is coming, and I'm stoked. I've been looking to train and hang and do something cool with Kawa for a while, man. So I'm glad we finally are able to catch up, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for years, bro.
Right, and then I saw you at this last was it a SHOT Show, and I was like, yo, what's up?
Yeah, SHOT Show Range Day, yeah.
Yeah, man. Hold up, let me see. I'm getting some
SHOT Show Media Day.
Media Day, exactly. I'm getting some feedback on the sound.
I could throw my headphones on. I'm trying to mute. I'm not trying to mute, but I'm trying to lower the volume on Instagram, but I still hear you a little bit. It's not going all the way down for some reason.
Okay, let me turn it off my headphones. Yo, how's this? You guys let me know if you got a kick me a radio check.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to have to go to my headphones.
Yep, me too, man, especially when we double dipping like this.
That's what it is.
Okay, how are we looking now? Somebody give me a radio check if the sound is good.
Okay.
Boom. Lima Charlie. Okay, fifth watch. Okay, there we go. I think we are up. I think we are good to go on this. Yo, you guys on? We're fine. Thank you, Christina. Yo, if you guys are on IG, join us on my YouTube channel because I'm going to be dropping. Hey, don't mind my yellow tongue. I took some turmeric a few minutes ago. I'll be doing hippie stuff here sometimes. Be doing hippie stuff. Babe, can you turn on the AC? It's getting warm in here with all these lights. So we're about to start dropping some videos over on my YouTube channel showing you guys what's coming. As we were saying, I've been waiting to get caught up with Kawa for a while. We've been kind of bouncing this back and forth for a little bit. Saw him at the SHOT Show Range Day, and I was like, you know what? I think this year's the year. And we've got a lineup for the Protector Symposium 5.0 that is so good. I don't know how I'm going to beat it. I don't know how I'm going to beat it.
Yeah, it's good.
No, it's hot, man.
Yeah, and you've done a great job of hyping it up too, man. With the marketing, it's been great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it because it's you create something that's legit, and it's like if people don't know how good it is, you got the best boat, and you die, and no one gets on the boat,
Yeah. It's tough because we're in an industry that is heavily shadow banned, and we say we're shadow banned, but we don't really know how that affects us other than So we put all this effort into content and marketing and production, and like it hardly gets any it doesn't get seen or so we don't know if it's us or the system or what.
Yeah, no, but that's real, man. Like I because I have 4 platforms. The shadow banning, the segregation on social media to 2 alpha platforms is real, y'all. I got multiple platforms, and when I do post anything about, well, really never touch the medical industry, you guys, that one's for free for you guys. If I post anything about certain topics, I'll get shadow banned on one of my pages. So I'll drop the same piece of content across all 4 to test it out. The shadow ban platform, I'll catch like 4 likes, and then the other ones will be in the thousands like usual. So, that's a real thing, man. And it shapes our world. It shapes the narrative. No, that's real. So for us,
no, it's really bad. It's really bad when your own followers don't even see you. When I get DMs from people who are like, bro, have you been posting? I haven't seen anything from you from like 2 weeks. I'm like, bro, I post like
every day,
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, that's what's up. So awesome. So y'all on IG, I gave you some time to hop over onto YouTube and join us. I'm about to kick this off with an intro to this upcoming Protector Symposium. I'm going to cue the video. Boom. The Symposium 5.0 is coming at y'all. What is the Protector Symposium? It's a legendary event. This is our 5th iteration. We've had anywhere from 200 to 475 people at these events learning elite protection skills, no matter what your background is, whether you're law enforcement, whether you're a professional protector, private security, whether you're a civilian, a single mom, an athlete, or a barista at Starbucks. Protection is the one skill that will allow you to keep everything that you know and love in your life. Come join us for a legendary event a groundbreaking event, a legendary event that's different than anything else you've probably ever been to, and learn the skills of protection, the soft skills. On Friday, we will be in the auditorium, and you will learn from 6 amazing instructors. And then Saturday and Sunday, you will be put in a group and you will wagon wheel through all of the instructors, the hard skills around the following competencies.
The infamous Craig Sawman Sawyer is going to be in the house, and he's going to be laying down some wisdom about what it takes to be a modern protector. He's got an amazing background, Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6, sniper. He's got expertise in shooting, surveillance detection, anti-terror task force operations, pretty much you name it. He's been doing it for decades. Some of you guys might recognize him from a few TV shows, Sniper, Deadliest Missions. He's been on all the seasons of Top Shot, Rhino Wars. He's been in the community and out in the field, really living the life of a warrior. He's been a lifelong warrior of many different disciplines.
Next up, we've got Raul Martinez, who's going to teach you the art of being able to implement, regain control of your firearm in the clinch. Do you know how to actually pull that weapon and implement it in close range? Can you get it back if something happens to it? Unfortunately, all too often, CCW owners pull their weapons, or police officers on duty, they pull their weapons and they get attacked and they don't know how to deal with it. Raul's going to teach you how to do that. Next up, we've got Ed Calderon, the infamous, who's going to teach weaponology, which is one of my favorite courses because I believe this course is maybe more dangerous than 90% of the courses that I have taken over my professional career. You're going to learn the ology behind weapons. You're going to be able to make anything into a weapon after you understand and have gone through this class, which will also consequentially help you become better at implementing weapons most effectively. You will never be without a weapon after this course because this is the ultimate weapon. It's an amazing course. Next up, we've got Kawa 2 Alpha 2 Quit, who is a Green Beret who's been teaching elite fighting forces the art of close quarters movement, close quarters battle, how to fight with a gun inside of a building, inside of a structure. This is something that this is a space we all exist in all of the time. What if someone goes active in your building? Can you evacuate that? Can you evacuate that structure effectively with your CCW? What if you're the one who has to go find them? What if you're a police officer on duty and you need to go into a structure to save lives? Can you navigate that environment? A professional protector like myself in the private security industry, and something happens in the building, you're in the building with your client. Can you navigate one of the most sophisticated environments to navigate when the possibility of a gunfight is real? Last, but definitely not least, we've got the infamous Instructor Zero coming to us from over the pond. It's an honor to bring him in. I've been wanting to train with him for a long time. He's going to be teaching us how to fight around vehicles. Where do 80% of force encounters take place? They take place in transitional spaces, on your way from your office to your car, on your way from your car to your house, at the gas station. Watch my tactical protection reviews and you will see that 80% of those vehicles are outside around vehicles. So do you know how to make your vehicle into an asset when it comes time to fight? That's what we're going into. 1 full day in the auditorium, 2 full days out at the field, learning the soft skills with some of the best in the world, and then learning the hard skills and putting them in place with some of the best instructors in the world. This is the Protector Symposium 5.0 from Protector Nation. Coming at you. This is Byron Rogers, protector by nature and by trade. I can't wait to see you out there and train together. Out. Yep. All right, solid, y'all. Boom.
Yeah, it's great.
That was good, man. No, thanks. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Such a good intro, man. Such a good, like, it gets me hyped up when I see that, because I'm like, I want to take all those courses.
Yeah, man. Yo, that's secretly like half my whole kind of thing with this is like, yo, who's all the dudes I want to train with at the same time to create something out of. That's like half my motivation for this thing. So no, that's good to go, man. Well, it's an honor to have you in the house, man. And
thank you. Good to be here.
No, 100%. And what you teach, man, your discipline, I think, is one of the most important disciplines for protectors. I think now, more now than ever, people are gonna kind of really start realizing the importance of, CQB and being able to move through a structure with a firearm efficiently and effectively, man. coming into this Protector Symposium 5.0. Just a real quick teaser. We'll get into it later, but what are you going to break out for these guys?
So we are doing basically what we call a loan operator, right? It's because you got Team CQB where, you guys stack up and everything, but we thought a loan operator is good just for that kind of single operator kind of application, whether it be inside your house or whether it be in your workplace. It could be anywhere, honestly. I mean, if you pay attention to the news, I mean, these shootings, these events are happening anywhere, so we know that possibly there could be a second person with you. If it's at your house, it could be your wife, it could be a roommate. And we do have a two-man course that we are now teaching to make up for that gap in the industry. But this loan man operator is great because it's really the foundation. It's really the foundation of what CQB is. In it, when you start adding people behind you in a stack, that just enhances your capabilities as a team. But understanding going through a loan operator course really gives you the foundational kind of mindset to what needs to happen inside of a structure, whether that is a multi-room structure, whether it's a multi-story structure. And we do go through some scenarios as to, whether you are pulling people out of there or you have EP world, if you have, that client that you got to get out of there. So we do some scenarios at the end, and then we use airsoft because, one, it's cost efficient to not just us, but you guys as well. UTM, these sims are great. And on a professional level, they are awesome, but professionals also have budgets that don't come out of our pocket. So for a student, I mean, you could get a bunch of BBs and an airsoft gun and we can still get to work and make it very effective training. And then we get to do some force on force because of that, right? But yeah, so that is what I'll be teaching at this
Protector Symposium 5.0.
I am so hyped. I am so hyped, man.
So good.
But that's what you guys will get if you come to this, if you sign up for this course, which I think a lot of you already have, and we're all stoked for. But I hope to see you guys there. Dude,
it's been impressive to see the response we've gotten from the industry already. Tickets are selling like crazy. A few things on what you said, man. The airsoft as a training modality, greatly underrated. I got invited to a little airsoft birthday party. One of my friends who's a GM shooter, he's a bad man. And I was like, yo, what are we doing? He's like, oh, we're going to go shoot some airsoft. I'm like, airsoft? Like, I mean, we're gunfighters, bro. We got to do some airsoft. Bro, we're live, but like, I was sore for like a week running around and actually gunfighting, not just kicking it at the range and killing paper and steel. Like, no,
it's effective. I mean, look, it's still very accurate, right? So especially in a CQB, if we talk about CQB distances, airsoft is still accurate up to like 25, 30 feet, and when we talk about feedback, right? When you shoot somebody with an airsoft pellet and you see the way the body kind of like cringes and collapses,
like you don't want to get shot. You don't want to get shot. Again.
I've broken skin. I've got my skin broke. I got shot in the nose. I got welts on my chest, and all those are just learning lessons, right? Because paintball is great, UTM is great, sims are great. They all do the same thing. The only difference is, besides the price of the cost, is really just a little bit less or more pain.
No, 100%, man. And we've got some awesome structures to mimic homes and things like that at the facility. So, one of the reasons and primary reasons, and then we'll kind of get into like your background and all that stuff, that I picked this topic, man, is because the reality of the game, like what we see just the other day, mall shooting, one man.
That's it.
But that's really what it's going to be. It's going to be, there's a high probability that you, with your CCW, or you who gets a call and you're by yourself, or you who's alone with a principal because they didn't want to spend the money on two agents, are going to be the dude or the dudette who's got to get it done. And understanding, CQB isn't one of those things you just know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to this. There's an art to this. And you need to practice it, or it's like a ballet, man, or you're going to be clumsy. And when you're clumsy in a place with a lot of angles and close distances, it can get really expensive really quick. Yeah.
CQB is, I describe it as, it is a game of angles. It is, as long as you understand the angles, it basically comes down to whoever owns that angle first is going to win the fight. right? Then obviously accuracy and all that comes into play. But if you're locking down an angle in CQB, you're more than likely going to win that angle, right? But the angles always change because we don't stand still, and that is what we describe as like the labyrinth. As like water flows through a labyrinth, it just naturally, kind of floods into rooms, and that's it. After that, it's learning how to move inside of a structure.
Dude, and I'm already getting excited just listening to him break it down. Yeah, I know y'all heard. I was like, see, this is what it's all about, man. I love it. So CQB, extremely important topic, not available to enough of the civilians in the world. I want you guys to come and get this. Professional protectors, you need this stuff. Okay. Kawa has been in the game teaching elite fighting forces for a long time. I always like to start off the podcast with this one question. We go deep first. Brother, who are you at your core? Like, who's the man behind the work, bro?
Oh man, that's I wasn't ready for that question.
We dig in,
man. What I'm trying to like summarize this because it is kind of a long story. As most of you guys know, I'm Afghan. I was born in Afghanistan. My entire family's from Kabul. Came to the U.S. when I was like 3 years old. Man, we came here as immigrants, and just found like we escaped the war, right? Because the Russian invasion was going on, and I grew up in this country from a very young age, and I became Americanized very early, but also hung on to my culture and all that. But I also developed a very overwhelming like sense of gratitude for how this country accepted us with open arms and how we were able to improve our quality of life in America versus what life would have looked like in Afghanistan had I grown up. I mean, who knows what I would have ended up being, like with all the influences and all the craziness happening over there. But here I could be anybody I want. And because the military runs deep in my blood and my genes, because everybody in my family served, especially on my dad's side, they're all fighters. And if you guys know the history of Afghanistan, that's all we do is fight.
Those cats are dead serious, bro.
Yeah, so like it was in my genes. So I knew I was going to go into the military, and I knew that I was going to be in some kind of combat MOS because, again, that's like why else would I join the military? I started out in the Marine Corps as an 0311 infantry guy. I did a few deployments there. That's where I started out, Camp Pendleton, West Coast Marines. So East Coast guys, sorry.
Hood, bro. That's what's up. Two West Coast Marines, man. Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood Marines.
Just the 0311, but I joined prior to 9/11 because nothing, that's how I kind of convinced my family. My family was very against me joining the military because they were like, "Well, we just came from a war-torn country. Why would you join the military?" And I was like, "It's in my blood.
I can't not.
I just can't not." You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, I was playing with like little guns since I was like 2 years old.
Yeah,
but anyway,
this was always the plan, Mom.
Yeah, but I convinced them. I was like, "Look, nothing's going on. I'm going to do 3-4 years, maybe get out, finish, go to a graduate degree or whatever, but then 9/11 kicked off, not even a year after I joined and changed all of our lives. Right. And that was that, man. Next thing I know, I find myself in Iraq and staged in Kuwait, ready to invade Iraq. And then the second deployment was Fallujah. I was a squad leader at that point, led a squad of Marines in Fallujah for their Operation Phantom Fury. And that was a game changer, man. That's what really kind of shaped me as a man and understanding what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. We all kind of came back as men from that deployment. It was not, if you guys know Operation Phantom Fury, it was like the biggest urban assault since like Way City, Vietnam. And a lot of people died. A lot of good Marines died, but we, got a lot of bad guys too. And Fallujah was pretty much destroyed by the end of that deployment. But I knew at that point that I needed to do something. Like the Marine Corps was not like the pinnacle of what I'm supposed to do. I love the infantry. Don't get me wrong. I still defend Marine Corps infantry, to this day. But I just knew that there was something better for me, and that's when I decided that I'm going to leave the Marine Corps and go into the Army and try out for Special Forces. And I knew that it wasn't a guarantee. I knew that if I didn't make it, I'd be stuck in the Army infantry unit, which, it's not all bad, right? But like, when it's like Army versus Marine Corps, right? We're always like talking shit. Yeah.
Right. As a Marine, you're like, no.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm
no.
gonna be purgatory now.
Yeah. It's like, no, we're better. It's like, no, we're better. You know, we always saw the Army infantry guys as like these guys have way cooler toys and equipment, but like, bro, we put in work with our broomsticks and you know what I mean, like 1980s Kevlar vests and stuff.
Yep, Vietnam era weapons, silver guns. Anyways,
you know, so there is a sense of pride there, but I knew I was willing to take that risk, and so that's what I did. I got out of the Marine Corps honorably, and I enlisted in the Army. I actually enlisted as 11 Bravo because I was at least going to choose what I was going to fall back on had I not made, had I not got past selection or made Special Forces. So that's what I did, man. I took that journey, and then a year and a half later, I earned my Green Beret, and I went to 5th Group, and 5th Group is where I wanted to go because they were in charge of the Middle East. And being Afghan and understanding that culture and everything, I knew I could do well there. They could use me, right? And so that's exactly what they did, man. They put me to work, and I did a lot of cool things in 5th Special Forces Group for all those years I was there. Several deployments, several amazing schools, met a lot of cool people, got a lot of good experience, and it really set me up for what I wanted to do on the outside, which was take all this information, all these skill sets, all this experience that from the Marine Corps to the Army, and now give that to civilians, in the best way I could, of course, right? I had to kind of tweak it, obviously, but just give it to civilians because, not that I want to say like I knew where this country is going, but you could already kind of tell, man, like, we're always going against the grain in this community, whether it's, if you're talking about the Second Amendment, where you're talking about, patriotism, where you're talking about, the way of life that we love to have in this country, like everything is against the grain. And I knew that the only thing I could do that would make me happy outside of the military was to just be a teacher to civilians, but not just civilians, law enforcement as well. And that's that, man. That's as like as summarized as I could put it. My last job is Special Forces, so that's like operational experience. My instructor experience comes from my last few years in 5th Group, where I was teaching at SFAUC, and SFAUC stands for Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat. It is probably the #2 highest shooting school in special operations, and it was an honor and a privilege to be to make it to that, but also be a part of that committee and teach. We taught 40 Green Berets every 6 weeks. We spent 2 weeks on the flat range with very advanced type rifle, pistol, shotgun shooting, and then we took about 2 to 2.5 weeks into the shoot house, and all we did was CQB. We started off with live fire, and then we kind of degressed to sims, because we were obviously putting role players in there now, and we were kind of testing some of their stuff, right? So, but I knew that as much as I loved flat range stuff and as good as I was with that, I knew that my bread and butter and what I really enjoyed was CQB. Like, it just came natural to me. Not that I'm like some kind of CQB master. That person doesn't exist. But the understanding of CQB, the concept of it, and then being able to deliver that to students, I just found a little more natural. So that's kind of where I honed in on in my time there. And then, I mean, to this day, man, I love teaching CQB more than anything else. And that's why I'm so excited to teach here at this year's symposium. So, but that's it, man. That is me in a nutshell.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Passion, experience. There's a lot to be said. So when I got to the Marine Corps, it was right after you guys got back from Fallujah. They made us sit there and read the newspaper articles of you guys pushing into the city, and just like burned it in our chest. And like, all you losers are missing out on the initial push. You'll never be the men that they are. And we were just sitting there like, I hate this. Hopefully the war is still going on. We get out of boot camp. We're all our conditioning going. But when I got to my unit, man, it was really cool to get to be able to train with these cats that were just downrange in the biggest urban engagement since Way City in Vietnam. It was literally like that training day scenario where they're like, you remember all that stuff you learned at the academy? Unlearn that right now. This is how we really get down. This is what really happens. You do that. This is what's really going to happen. Like, and I got that real world gritty instruction. And there's a difference, man. I'm not saying someone who hasn't been downrange can't teach you stuff. Like, there's great instructors, but
right.
There's like this energy that comes from a dude who knows the tactics he's teaching you saved his life or saved lives, or I mean, he's seen that stuff or proven it out in real world violence. And that is something that I really love about having you on this card. And a lot of the instructors, man, is to be able to say, nah, that these dudes really have gone downrange and got after it, and you guys get to learn from people who have been there and done that.
Yeah, Fallujah was a big CQB test, and as Marine infantry guys, I mean, most of you know this. Marine infantry guys, CQB is not what we do. We do small unit tactics. We know how to patrol. We know how to build a base defense. We know how to lay an ambush. We know how to counter, but we don't do CQB. So the limited, and I mean, like, you're talking about the tip of the iceberg. With that amount of knowledge, we had to go into the city and to go house to house, door to door, check every nook and cranny. And that's how actually we lost a lot of guys, man, because like these guys were hunkered down in these buildings waiting for us, and they knew we were coming. And even with all the cool stuff that we had, the experience wasn't there. The knowledge wasn't there. You know what I mean? That the instruction beforehand wasn't there. So we were learning on the fly what works and what doesn't work as we're getting shot at and as we're shooting people. And that kind of operational experience, even as a Marine, does take you a long way. Even when I got to SF and I got to a high level of instruction, a high level of execution, I went back to those days in Fallujah and I was like, that's what it's like. Now I can execute. Now I can execute better, but bad guys do what bad guys do, man. They don't play by the rules,
There's no rules.
Yeah, so it's just, but now understanding CQB better as a Green Beret just meant that I could relay that information to students as what bad guys can do, or what your body or what your mind goes through as you're going through this process. So it goes hand in hand, and I was very fortunate, one, not to make it back from Fallujah, but also very fortunate to be able to take that experience and take it to Special Forces and then make sense of it at that level.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I just a thought that popped in my head that ain't even on the card, but what are your thoughts, man? I mean, when we went back through, mine was Haditha, man. We were clearing Haditha and doing all that stuff. And we hit a few dozen little villages and stuff like that over my 2 deployments. And I mean, it was just house to house to house to house to house to house to house for weeks. Go firm, 3 hours. You take a nap. I got your back. You're sleeping. Okay, my turn. And we were hammering, but this video comes out of this school, this active shooter, bro. And I'm watching these law enforcement officers. Obviously, I have the utmost respect for our professional protectors. But what goes through your mind when you see a video like the one that came out of the Texas shooting, and you see these dudes stacked up, and it takes them 77 minutes to get into the room, and my man had to get his hand sanitizer on. You know what I'm saying? Before I'm gonna tell everyone what I'm thinking, but what goes through your head when you see something?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough because prior to teaching outside, like prior to starting my training company and actually teaching with law enforcement, even like from regular patrol cops to SWAT to HRT type guys, I would have just given them the benefit of the doubt. I would have been like, you know what, these guys maybe don't have enough training or experience. But when I see guys like Bortak, and I've worked with Bortak in the past, Bortak, on average, they're not like high-speed operators, but they have like a high level of execution for their protocols.
Okay.
When I see that, and like, first of all, if they're just cops, I try not to beat them up too much, because I have to always take myself back to my experience with police officers and knowing that, first of all, these guys get 30 rounds a month and to shoot. And when they do shoot, it's just a qual because it's a check in the box. 2, they don't get a lot of team training in that sense. They definitely don't get a lot of CQB training. I mean, they're not a special tactics team. So what do they know about CQB? So I try to look at it from a neutral kind of point of view, but at the same time, it's really like disheartening to see these guys, not act and somebody not taking the initiative, because in CQB, at least on our level, there is leadership outside of the building. Once you get inside the building, there is no more leadership, because every man in that room or in that building is an assaulter. Every one of them is an operator. They shouldn't have to wait for leadership to be like, all right, guys, go down this hallway. It's like, no, dude, somebody fucking take charge and say, hey, stack on me, hallway, split, fucking hallway posture, and let's go, right? And as you get to closed doors and open doors, you start addressing them or locking them down, and you follow the sound of gunfire. Right. And to see them not even do that much was very I mean, saying cringe is just a kind of a cliche thing to say, but that's how you feel on the inside. It's just like, bro, like it hurts my heart to imagine what these kids were going through in these classrooms while these guys, these professionals, were just hanging out at this little T section or whatever, and nobody was taking charge. Nobody was taking initiative. Yeah, man, and that's really about all as I can say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, man. I just knowing that when we were hitting those houses and there's like teams of grown men in those buildings trying to kill us and we were trying to kill them, and we had no sleep, no food, no showers for 2 weeks, and we were kicking those doors, moving towards the sound of gunfire, staying up all night, getting after it. I just, my heart goes out to one, the people who are paying our professionals to do this.
Right.
Like we are expecting a service. So we got to be, and then I say this in the EP world, in the private security world, we must be as advertised. Like it's not enough. And I'm talking to anybody who's a professional protector. It's not enough just to have a paycheck and just to go to work because you have a job and all that. If you're doing this work, it's got to be more than just a job. It's got to be a lifestyle. And so my guys, my professional protectors, we're going to the range this weekend, and we try to build training into our budget. We try to get a training allowance so we can keep our guys legit when it comes to medical, and, all the different tools we need on the spectrum of driving and shooting and communication and counter surveillance. But that is part of this work. 77 minutes for evil to reign supreme in a room is just, and I say this with respect, and I also say it as a like a challenge. As men, this is our love language. It is unacceptable. It's absolutely
100%.
And I can say that because I've had to make the call and be like, yo, I think I'm gonna have to go. I might die, but I'm not letting my boys go in here by themselves. Today, we're gonna die together for the right stuff. So
which kind of. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but I was just going to say, which kind of takes us now to after action, right? When we look at this after action and we assess what happened in those 77 minutes.
From the comfort of our chairs, from the comfort of our chairs,
Yeah, but what I'm trying to talk about is like nobody can disagree with this, is now accountability, right? Now heads got to roll at this point, right? And that's what I haven't seen. Where is the accountability for these police officers? Where is the accountability for the leadership? Who is the ground force commander? Where is his accountability? I have yet to see anybody get fired. I've yet to see anybody even just leave without pay or something. You know what I mean?
And another small consideration too, I think is a large one, is changes in American culture with regards to our war fighters and our law enforcement agencies. I don't know for a fact, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that these guys probably have seen other officers get hung out to dry, have seen other officers not get support. I don't think that our law enforcement agencies are able to act knowing that their job is secure, that anyone's going to have their back. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I know how that affects a fighting force, and not having a clear mind when you're going in there that, hey, my chain of command's trusting me to make the best decision on ground. Like having to be like, yo, I could be right, and then I could not be able to feed my family, and I could go to jail for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like thoughts like that in your your mind while you're fighting, those are killers. So I think there's something we should look at there too.
Big time. It does affect you operationally when you think that even if I do the right thing, my chain of command will not have my back, or they'll just let me, they'll let me they'll leave me flapping in the wind. And that really affects your operational aptitude, because at that point, you still want to do the right thing, but even if you hesitate, right? Because before, if everything was groovy with your chain of command and you're just like, hey, you guys got this, go. You're not even thinking, you're in work mode. But the moment you have even that slightest doubt and you hesitate for that moment,
That could be
one that echoes throughout the unit, right? Throughout the element that's on the ground, it echoes. But two, that again, it takes away that response time that was so dire in this situation. Yeah, big time. So that all that affects it, man. It's and you're right. This culture for law enforcement and these other agencies has changed dramatically in the last couple of years,
yeah.
and we all know why that's due to,
Right.
But the real question should be, what's the solution and how do we get back?
Yep.
Because these things are not going to stop. These school shootings are not going to stop.
Nope.
Live video ended. The school shootings are not going to stop. None of this stuff is going to stop. It's just never going to stop. You guys, they want to take guns away. It's still not going to stop. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was going to let you kind of pick up from there.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing. So that's why we're into this CQB. That's why the mission is to make the world a safer place by helping good people to become more dangerous and understand how to move through these environments. So as you see more active shooters, man, taking place, active shooting events taking place in our society, what are your thoughts, man? What types of things, go through your mind as far as, civilians being prepared and things like that?
So there's a couple of things that I think are big, I should say. And one, obviously, it's situational awareness. Without situational awareness, it doesn't matter how well you're trained, how well you can shoot, how much of a tactician you are. Situational awareness is something that I preach all the time, and people are like, "Well, teach me how to be more situationally aware." And this is how I break it down. If you look at every kind of location in our society, each one of these locations has a culture of its own. Like, look at a gas station, right? What is the culture of a gas station? So what I mean by that is, what typically happens at a gas station? What do people do? And once you understand what the norms of that little culture is, of that environment, then you understand how to pick out the abnormalities. And once you understand the abnormalities, now you can give that more attention, right? A grocery store, a theater, a mall, a restaurant. Understand the culture of each one of these environments, or understanding the culture of each one of these environments will then get you to a place where when you see an abnormality, it sticks out right away. Like it just does, right? And when you understand that, then now you are now situationally aware. It's not like rubbernecking and stuff like that. There is the whole 5 and 25 thing, which I firmly believe in. Obviously, scanning your immediate kind of little 5-meter perimeter or whatever, and then scanning out further for threat indicators. But most of these things happen inside of a structure, and each one of those structures has a culture. Understand that. That's how you pick out threat indicators, and they really stick out. You don't even have to look for them; they just naturally stick out at that point. So situational is big. Situational awareness is big. Other than that, it's training on your own and understanding what's important to you, to your pattern of life. Because you see all these things on social media like, well, this guy is on the flat range with full kit, and this guy is working mainly out of vehicles, and this guy is doing a lot of CQB. And it's like, no, man, don't look at these people on Instagram as like people you should emulate. Look at your pattern of life and understand, be like, where am I the most vulnerable in my pattern of life? Am I vulnerable inside my house? Is it work? Is it en route from work, to the house? Or maybe it's that lunch place that you go to. What kind of lifestyle do you live? And then now pick out the vulnerabilities. In essence, what you're doing is you are doing a risk assessment of your own life. And once you understand what the risks are, once you complete that assessment, then you kind of have a better idea of what kind of training you should really focus on. So whether that could be concealment training, or if you're a professional, maybe it's more stuff out of an OWB holster, whatever it is. But once you kind of do a risk assessment of your own pattern of life, then you kind of like, okay, this is where I need to focus on. If you spend most of your time in a car, right, maybe you should work on doing some concealed stuff out of a car. Maybe you should take a VCQB class, right? So stuff like that. versus just spending your money on nods and lasers classes, or spending your money on professional driving or stuff like that. Like, that's what it is, guys. That's where you start with your own, make it personal to you, and then branch out. That's my best advice.
That's really good advice, man. Like, you hit on some solid stuff. Situational awareness is a really broad term, so I'm glad you broke it down. And it really begins with understanding the social baseline of your environment. That's how you recognize anomalies. You're like, yo, what's everyone supposed to be doing here? Okay, how does everyone here have an alibi? Are they all doing what they're supposed to be doing here? Why is there one military-age male not doing what everyone else is supposed to be doing here? And it comes down to being like, okay, that's my guy. I'm gonna make sure I have visual mastery, and I'm going to make sure that he's not gaining tactical positioning on me. And I'm going to pump my gas. Gas stations are where a lot of these things go down. You mentioned, you hit it the nail right on the head. Transitional spaces. Take a look at your life. Look at the vulnerabilities. Oh, I don't have any vulnerabilities, Byron. Well, do you go from your car to your office to your car, from your car into your house? Do you park in a garage? Like, these are transitional spaces. If you go back and you watch my tactical protection reviews, you're going to notice everyone gets hit in these transitional spaces, right? Because this is where it goes down, man. And that's micro and that's macro. That's from your house to your car. That's from your trip to New York,
Yeah, and I'll caveat one more thing to that is, like, what one additional thing you could do if you have the time and resources. Of course, you don't have to do this, but it's kind of, sometimes it's good to put yourself in a bad guy's perspective. Let's say you walk through this park every morning to get to work or to that coffee shop. If you were a bad guy, where would you hide? Where are the choke points? Where are the open areas? Where is it most saturated with people? Where are you alone for even 2 minutes, right? If you were the bad guy and you were your own target, where would you hit you from, right? I guess that's just some kind of like advanced type stuff that we look at. And that'll, again, it'll give you a different perspective, because now you're looking at your life or your pattern of life through the bad guy's eyes, and now you can better prepare, right, for certain little events in your life or through the day or whatever it is.
No, 100%, man. That is, in my opinion, that is one of the first things we do anytime we get on task. As we look at our life, what's my pattern of life? Where are my vulnerabilities? If I was a bad dude, where would I hit me? That's why I'm carrying everywhere. I got my stuff with me, even at the gym, because that's, that's how I'm thinking, man. Like,
man.
If I was tracking Byron, and so here's a quick case study, right? Like, if I was tracking Byron, where would I hit Byron? You know what I'm saying? Where's the only place I go live? At the gym, right? Where do you go live in your life? I got a few clients now because they went live while they were on some trip. Somebody's looking at the hashtags for Aspen, sees them go, okay, they're the hashtag Aspen, boom. That means they're not home. They already knew where they live, and then you're getting hit while you're not at your house. So social media is another layer, that's digital realm that can make you vulnerable if you don't understand how to navigate that as well.
That's a very good point, man. Social media is in essence a vulnerability, not like anything that's good for you other than followers and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, relationships are important, but security wise, it's a vulnerability.
Yeah, man. Just don't post every little thing, bro. That's like, just unless you're like getting paid for that, then that's different. But
and even then, you ain't gonna catch me posted when I'm not home. Like,
no.
So, dude, what about, I'm gonna play real quick your video for the Protector Symposium. We're gonna take a quick break so everyone can see that, and then we come back. I want to hear your thoughts on active shooter and run, hide, fight.
Okay.
Yeah. Stand by, palms down.
Coming up next, we've got Kawa, 2 Alpha, 2 Quit in the house, and he's a former Green Beret that's been teaching agencies, elite fighting forces all over the United States and the globe for quite some time now, but specifically in the art of close quarters battle or close quarters movement. How do you make entry? How do you move around in the urban environments that we frequent so often with your firearm? How do you navigate those environments effectively, whether it's a search for an aggressor or it's just to evacuate the aggressor? And in today's day and age where we're dealing with so many active human threats, whether it's active shooter or whatever it is,
you very well could be faced with the reality that you need to make a decision: run, hide, or fight. Which one are you going to do? If it's run, if it's hide, or if it's fight, and it's going to happen in an urban environment, this class is going to help you. If you're an EP and you have to move your principal through the inside of a structure, do you know how to do that effectively? If you're in law enforcement and you have to get out of your vehicle and you have to move through that urban structure and search or fight your way out of that urban structure, someone goes active while you're at work, how are you going to get to your car? How are you going to get out of the school? These are the skills that 2 Alpha is going to come, that Kawa is going to come and help equip professional protectors with. This is going to be amazing. Don't miss it. Yo, you know your boy. Your own videos, man. I could be a DJ up in here. You know. Yeah, man. No, here we are. Kawa 2 Alpha's up in here, putting down, dropping bars on us about close quarters battle, about CQB, about moving through urban structures. You know, this is going to be one of an awesome module of our upcoming Protector Symposium 5.0. This is the 5th iteration. You guys get some tickets. I'm going to put the link in the comments. Go to protectorsymposium.com. Tickets are selling out fast. Obviously, we only have limited space. This is a once-in-a-lifetime training event. We're going to have Kawa 2 Alpha, Ed Calderon, Raul Martinez, Instructor Zero. We're going to have Craig Sawyer, Sawman is going to be up in the house. We're even doing a module on protective driving with contact driving as well. But those seats are almost already sold out, man. People ain't messing around.
Of course they are.
Dude, everybody's getting in on it. Everyone wants to crash cars.
Yeah, I want to do that.
It's pretty dope.
I want to do all of it.
Yeah, man. We'll sneak off and make some content. Just
yeah.
So yeah, y'all. This event is going to be awesome. It's going to be September 16th, 17th, 18th. And so don't miss it. This really is. It's literally getting all these guys in one place. Is a once in a lifetime training event. So yo. The infamous Kawa 2 Alpha is here. Wanted to get your thoughts, man, on what I know law enforcement agencies have been teaching. There are a billion ways to skin a cat, but what do you think about someone goes active in the building, there's a shooter. What do you think about the run, hide, fight doctrine, and or what would you do, man? What would be your first thoughts going through your head?
Yeah, so let me preface that with saying that I'm not an EP professional like Byron. I don't come from that world. What I've tried to do, and what I've tried to do is take a military. I've tried to take some military protocols and some techniques and tactics and apply them into this world, and kind of I've bounced them off several EPs, EP professionals, I should say, and I've gotten some good feedback as how to tweak that for you guys. And then really the principles.
Real quick too. Sorry to cut you off. For anybody, just for a civilian, because everyone's invited to this event. Civilians, law enforcement, EP, everyone in the game. You know, active shooter situations are happening all over the world. What do you think? You know, just so that everybody can get in on this one.
Yeah. Thank you. And so what I was trying to say was just basically like, I don't come from that world. I didn't grow up in that world. And if I did, I probably have a little bit better perspective. And, but like I do work with a lot of professionals from that world and from that industry who also kind of helped me shape this course and take some of the military stuff and some of the civilian stuff from that world and mash them together to what makes sense. And so, it's tough to say when an active shooter scenario happens inside of a structure. What do you do? Do you run? Do you fight? But situation kind of dictates a lot of that, because if it's at a gas station, it's closed, it's confined. You may not have a choice but to fight. You know what I mean? You could go for the door, and you may have a chance of getting out of there. But also, how many people are in a gas station at once? Well, probably like 5 to maybe 20 if it's one of those big love type gas stations. You know what I mean? Now, if you put yourself in a mall or a theater, especially a theater, if you try to run anywhere in a theater, you're not going anywhere fast. You know what I mean?
Yep. You're alive.
And so where I'm trying to go with that is being proactive versus reactive. when you go into a place, like what I do with my children, I have two teenage boys. One is about to turn 18. The other one's about to be 16. I got two younger girls, 8 and 9.
Wow.
And in fact, my 8-year-old's birthday was today. And so
thanks for being with us. Thanks for being with us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. But like what I do with my kids, and I don't try to do it in this way that's going to be like bore them or not make sense to them. But what I try to do is like when we go somewhere as a family, or even if I'm going somewhere with a wife or a girlfriend or something like that, it's just a quick little brief, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're about to walk through here. This is where we parked. It doesn't have to be this specific, or it can be as specific as you need it to be to make sense. But if you're going through the food court and you're trying to get to the movie theater, it's kind of like, okay, we're going through these different phases. What happens if something bad happens in the food court? What happens if something bad happens outside of the food court en route, in that transitional space? It's that kind of planning. And again, it's not breaking it down to like this whole military operation, but really, if we're in a movie theater and we're sitting in the back or the front, and some guy starts popping off, what do we do? What do we do? You don't need to have a plan. You don't need to be like, well, this is contingency 1 and this is like contingency 2. Like it just needs to be that a plan is in place, so that what it really does is gets your mind thinking, right? And so now your mind is being proactive versus reactive. Now imagine having even the worst plan going into a theater versus not having any plan at all, right?
Yeah.
And you don't tell your kids, and let's say, some guy starts popping off in the theater, and now your kids are like, everyone's thinking, you have 5 different people with 5 different minds, and they're all thinking 5 different things, right? And so it's just a little bit of preparation that will help you kind of decide, what do we do from here, right? As far as your question goes, Byron, it's tough to say that, because now if you are a civilian, I would tell you that there is no fight worth fighting if you're not safe first. You know what I mean? Security is paramount.
Yep.
And that goes from the highest levels down to the lowest levels. If you don't have security, you can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And for example, in CQB, if you're facing an open door and nobody has a gun pointed at that door, or if you don't have a split stack kind of crossing rifles through that door, you can't do any work in that room, because again, you're exposed, the area is not secure, and there's just no progress from there. So, but what that translates to in a civilian world is your own security. Now, I'm not saying you have to save all 50 people in this theater, but whoever you're there with, you need to at least have security for yourself and that person. And maybe that person's capable too. Maybe they're trained or whatever, right? And maybe they're thinking along the same lines. But without security, you can't do anything else. So at the minimum, security, and after that, whether you run or whether you fight is a little more situationally dependent. And it's not easy. It's not like a really easy answer to say, well, you just fight. You're a fighter, you fucking fight. That guy in the mall, that guy in the Indianapolis mall, what he chose to do was he didn't run, but he also didn't necessarily advance right away. He took cover. So what is the principle of cover? It's security. He made sure that he was secure first. And I think he was with somebody as well. But he made sure that person, I think it was like his girlfriend or his wife. So they made sure that they both had cover. He took a minute to assess the situation. At that point, he made a decision that, you know what, I'm capable of doing this. And I have maybe he had a clear line of fire. Maybe his backstop was clear. Whatever it was, he took that 40-yard shot, and he took several of them, and he made that decision. Now, he could have easily ran out of there, and no one would have ever judged him. No one would have been like, hey, bro, you had a gun on you. Why didn't you do something? You know what I mean? Of course, you got the trolls that would have said that. But he made a decision that he was going to stay and fight. But did he fight in close proximity, or did he use the space that he had, right? So he did very well in that situation where he's like, dude, I got 40 meters between me and this guy. I don't need to close distance. He has a rifle. I have a pistol. And on top of that, he had a subcompact, right? Which is not the easiest gun to shoot.
I didn't know 40 yards, bro. Yeah,
No,
like
and
that.
especially
Going
not at
to
40
Valhalla,
yards.
my man. Like I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
and he went like, what was it, like 8 out of 10? It was like something.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
something
impressive.
crazy. He did really well, man. Like honestly, I mean, he did everything he was supposed to, and he even used the space, right? He used that situation or that spatial awareness, and he used the space of that area to his advantage,
Yeah.
right? And so those are the little things that I tell people this all the time. It's not the big decisions that make or break us in these situations. It's the little ones that make or break us. In CQB, it's not the big movements. It's always the little things like not digging that corner upon entry or not collapsing your sector to that next assaulter. It's those little things that always make or break us. So I wish I had like a better answer for you, Byron, but yeah, it's a tough one, man. But I'm trying to give people a foundation to think on so that at least they're kind of being a little more proactive mentally to, these places that they're visiting or frequency.
Yeah, man. No. Your answer was perfect. That's the answer. The answer is it's situational dependent. It's situationally dependent. In my opinion, what do I know? We're just two guys kicking it back and forth. But in my opinion, it is situational. It's situational, man. It's situation dependent. Yeah. Situation dictates tactics. And, my suggestion always, is always know your environment, know where and the best ways for you to run. Know the best places for you to hide around you, and know if you have to fight, what do you have at your disposal, where are you going to hard point at, and understand how to stack tactical advantages. But that joint's all situational dependent. I love that you talked about your family too, man. I think that is part of the response.
That's what we do. That's like our little thing before we get out of the car. It's like a little 2-minute spiel. All right, because they know by now. They're like, "Got it, Dad." And I'm just like, "All right, I'm just putting it. I'm just taking it from back here and I'm putting it here." You know what I mean? That's all I'm doing. Don't get mad at me, right? So I'm just bringing it to the forefront of your mind now. But it's just a 2-minute spiel, man. They know if we're inside of a store, we're gonna take cover. If we're out in a transitional kind of hallway or whatever, it's like follow my instructions to the T. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And so with that guy, and the other thing is, man, understand who you're going up against, right? Yeah. This guy was already at a disadvantage with a guy that has an AR. He has a subcompact, a Hellcat or whatever he had, right? He's already at 40 meters. That's tough. There's people probably running back and forth, all chaotic. Now imagine if you threw one more gunman into that mix. Would he have done the same thing? I mean, it's hard to say, right? We can armchair quarterback and say that if he probably would have chose to fight that, he probably would have walked out of there that day. You know what I mean? That would have been a hard fight. But understand what you're going up against, man. Not everything is about, well, I got a gun, so I got to act. That's not it, man. That's not it. Sometimes you got to fucking take care of your own, walk away, and understand the lessons learned there. You know what I mean? To fight another day.
And leverage your tactics, man. I got out of the Marine Corps. We're kicking indoors, we're flooding cities. And I went to train with some of the boys up at LA Sheriff's Department, SCB dudes. And I'm sitting there in one of the shoot houses running around. And kind of one of my mentors, he grabs me and he stops me and he's like, "Hey, what did he say?" He was like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to get to the threat." And he's like, How long do you have to get to this threat? And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what's going in there. I got to get in there." And he's like, "You've got the rest of your life." He's like, "You go in this house, you make one mistake, and that's it." He's like, "Slow down." And I'm like, we got shock troop tactic training, so we would just flood stuff, scream, kicking into. I mean, it was the nasty. Ridiculous Marine
like
Corps
Power Rangers, just fucking
literally, bro, just violence of action, breaking stuff as we go just to, oh man, and I think
like unnecessary somersaults and cartwheels and shit.
I was like, they take advantage of us, like that we were 18 and we would do whatever they told us to do. But they did. But anyway, so yeah, man, and he was like, "You have the rest of your life. Don't make a mistake. Slow down." He's like, and I just remember being like, wow, like, and it's true, man. These situations, they unfold quick, they're dynamic, and you've got to make the right decisions. So let's see, as we get into our closing questions here, what would you say is the hardest lesson you've learned, in your professional career out in the field or as an instructor?
The hardest lesson that I've learned, that's a tough one, man. I don't know if I was ready for that.
We'd be digging in towards
the hardest lesson, well, I guess it is really kind of it's internal. It's internal. It's understanding what I'm capable of. It's understanding what my deficiencies are and what I'm good at. And because we want to pretend like we're good at everything, and we're not, man. We all have deficiencies, but we have to identify those deficiencies if we're ever going to improve on them. And sometimes, and especially like at our level of operating Green Berets, you know, for a year and a half, they pretty much treat you like you're a badass. You know what I mean? And so by the time you get to the unit, you already think you're a fucking badass, and then you already kind of fall into this kind of like false sense of, oh well, I just, you know what I mean, like I'm already good, bro. I already made it, you know. And so one of the hardest lessons learned for me was when I went to some of these advanced schools, thinking I was like, oh, bro, like I'm a Green Beret, I got this, and it was like a rude awakening of, bro, just because you're a Green Beret, that doesn't mean shit. You know what I mean? It's the merits that you earn on that journey that really make you who you are. And so that's it for me, was like understanding, first of all, it's the whole like 12-step process. Like acknowledge that you have a problem. You know what I mean? Acknowledge that you have a deficiency. And once you acknowledge that deficiency, now come up with a plan on how to improve off of that, you know, or get to that next level of proficiency. And that was something I learned early on in my SF career, because I thought I was coming in from Fallujah, like this hot squad leader Marine, and I got this, that, and the other. And I was like, nah, bro, you know, these guys are on a whole new level, man. I got shut down hard. But it humbled me, man. It humbled me really quick. And I'm glad that happened for, you know, I mean, it sucked at the time, but I'm glad that happened. I needed that kind of kick in the nuts to understand that I can't take that approach, you know, just because I did some cool things in the Marine Corps. But as an instructor, it's understanding that not everyone understands the language that you're putting out. So it was like, you know, when you're talking to Green Berets, everything's like military terms and acronyms, and it's like, fuck you, do it. You know, it's like one of those type, like you got, you know what I mean? So, but when you're talking to civilians, it's not just, first, you can't take that approach with civilians. You gotta talk like a civilian, first of all, but also it's the way you deliver. It's the way you deliver the content. It's the way you deliver whatever it is you're teaching. Not everybody picks it up. And so that was kind of like on the instructor side, coming from teaching Green Berets to going to civilians. Not that I'm saying civilians are like way down here and Green Berets are way up here, but it's really just communication. It comes down to communication. How do you take this high level of curriculum and execution and translate it down to a civilian who just picked up a gun last week for the first time, and this is his first course? So that was kind of like, that was probably the hard lesson learned. But, you know, the good thing is that I've had a lot of experience at this now, and I've used all this time and experience teaching civilians, but also, again, it really comes down to understanding who your audience is and understanding how to communicate to that specific audience, because talking to civilians is different from talking to law enforcement than talking to SWAT, than talking to Green Berets or any military guys, right? It's all these different, like they all think differently, they all hear and listen differently. And so that was probably the hardest lesson learned there as an instructor as well.
Yeah, savage, man. Good stuff, man. I 100%. This weekend, I'm going out with one of my crews. We're going to do our shooting quals. We always do local law enforcement quals, FBI quals, CC, all the quals, you know, to make sure we're locked in with our qualified witness in case something happens. And, you know, we've had, you know, you've been on teams with leaders that don't go and shoot. And it really just goes back to, hey, I don't care about your position. I don't care about your background. I respect you for what you've done. What I need to know is what you're capable of when me and you cross that line of departure for this mission. That's it.
Can you operate?
Yeah, really, right? Can you operate? No, can you operate? Okay?
I got one question. Can you operate? Sorry, terminal list plug. Yeah,
man, because that's the question, man. And then, and honestly, we run in-docs for some of the details, and I'm always blown away when, you know, we get a dude and he's like, yo, I'm prior military, this, that, and the next thing. Or I'm prior law enforcement, this, that, and the next thing. And then I'm like, okay, cool, man. We're just going to shoot some law enforcement quals, and we're going to shoot some, you know, federal stuff and whatever. You know, just pass the quals, man. And they're like, yeah. And then I get a civilian who's like kind of shy and a little uncomfortable because he doesn't have the background. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at his resume and stuff, and he's like, I'm not military, I'm not law enforcement. I've been practicing a little bit. I've gone to some courses, and then we get out there, and you know who smoke checks all the other dudes, man? The civilian, man.
Dude, yeah.
They're like, y'all kill him. Y'all ain't going to Valhalla with it, because the civilian's not resting on his laurels. And he's actually at his house dry firing and actually spending money going to courses. And he knows what he can do right now is all he's got. He can't say, I used to be a SEAL or I used to be a whatever.
Yeah, man. That's the one thing that I didn't like about the military. That's the one thing that I didn't like about the military. And since I've worked with other units and agencies now, I see it there too. It's like this very restrictive mindset that because you are training at a certain level, you don't need to do anything outside of that. Right? It's almost like, well, it's like I clock in, I clock out, and that's it. And I'm gonna go home and like not do anything else. But it's not like it's not like a physical thing. It's a mindset thing. It's like, bro, just because you're a cop, that doesn't mean you can't go to the range on your days off. Just because just because you're a SWAT guy, just because you're a military guy, that doesn't mean you can't go to the range or go do some training on your time off, or maybe with some of the guys. And that is so detrimental, man. It is detrimental. We're civilians. That's where they have kind of the upper hand because they're not closed into this space, this headspace.
Right.
They're just like, ooh, I want to do that and I want to do that. It's like the Protector Symposium. It's like now they can come to the Protector Symposium and literally do all of these cool things, because they're not stuck in this headspace that, well, I did my work and I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah, I'm already at this.
Yeah, so that's what I like about the whole civilian space is those guys, man, they just want to do everything and then they find what they're good at and they want to stick to it. And then they branch out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. No, that's good stuff, bro.
Yeah.
What would you say? And so, for all us prior military, some dudes are still dangerous, but it's got to be more than just a job. It's got to be a lifestyle. So,
absolutely,
y'all
100%.
Keep up. Yo, what would you say was your proudest moment in this game as a protector?
Proudest moment. My proudest moment is like when I get feedback from people, like whether that's 6 months down the road, a year, 2 years, people hit me up every once in a while. He's like, hey man, that class that I went to, or that chat that we had, or these courses, like, sometimes I put on like long-term programs, like 3 to 6 months, or even a 1 year program. I put that on every once in a while. And people come back and hit me up after a couple months or a couple years, and they're like, bro, that training that I got with you has completely changed my life. It has changed my outlook on the way I live my life, my lifestyle, my pattern of life. Everything has changed. Now wherever they're at in their life, that feedback that I get, it just makes me feel good, man. Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like, I was able to do this for at least one person. Even if people come to my class and they're like, man, that was a cool pistol class, but it doesn't influence their life, I'm okay with that. But like, when I know that I've kind of really reached somebody and I've kind of transitioned them, or I've sucked them into that lifestyle or that dark side, whatever you want to call it, that makes me proud, because now I'm like, all right, man, that's one more dude out there that is capable, right? He is a capable citizen, or what I like to call an active citizen, right? It's the other side of active shooters. So we got active shooters and we got active citizens, and I want to see more active citizens. And so that's what makes me proud, is when I can reach people in that way and they come back to me and they tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. This active citizen thing. That's awesome, man. Our mission is to make the world a safer place by helping good people to become more dangerous. I want to see more of what we saw the other day in that mall. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Dude goes active, boom, civilian population wipes him out, and first responders come up and clean up the mess. And that's how it should be. That's how it is in some other Israel, man. It's like terrorist attack, gets one person, everyone extinguishes them, and then it's nothing. That's kind of what I want.
That. Yeah, man, it's like that in a lot of countries. They just don't get they don't get the media hype that we do. A lot of countries, there's a lot of countries in this world that you guys never hear about, where the civilians fucking stop the bad guys dead in their tracks every day. You just won't hear about it.
Yep. And because civilians are the white protectors, are the white blood cells in the body of humanity, man. I love it. Let's see here. And that's what we're doing with this event, y'all. So come join us. What would you say is your favorite quote, favorite mantra, favorite saying?
My favorite quote. Yeah, my favorite quote comes from William Lamb. He was a general in the French Revolution back in 1817. He said that the possession of great power necessarily implies great responsibility. Right. And so you guys are like, wait a minute, Spider-Man's uncle said that. Like, no, bro, that's William Lamb said that back like 200 years ago, 250 years ago. The possession of great power necessarily implies great responsibility. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Man, that's hard, man. I love that. I love that. I always say, Viktor Frankl, my favorite psychotherapist, good book for you guys, Man's Search for Meaning. He talks about how there should be a Statue of Liberty, a Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast to balance out the Statue of Liberty, because freedom without responsibility equals death. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I love that. Power without purpose is a problem, man. And that's, I think, little rabbit hole, but I think that might be some of what's going on with the young men in this country, man. Is figuring out their masculinity and a few different things, because a lot of these active shooters, they're all males, so there's something going on.
And they're all young males. Yeah.
Young males, man, looking to make a mark like we all were when we joined the Marine Corps and stuff, know. So there's something to be said for that, man. That's a powerful quote. I love that. How would you like to be remembered when it's all said and done? Yeah, I know these are deep questions. The last one, though.
Come on, bro. Let me burn some incense really quick.
Psychology coming out, but
how do I want to be remembered, man? Honestly, look, in the big scheme of things, nothing else matters, man. I don't want to be remembered as a Marine. I don't want to be remembered as a Green Beret. I don't care. I can care less about those things when I'm old and gray on my deathbed. All that I want to be remembered by when I'm in that position is that, I did right by those that I care about. I did right by my children, my grandchildren, my family, everyone that I helped, bring into this world. And as long as they remember me in a positive way, like, like I remember my grandfather in such a strong, positive way, man, like his memory will never die with me. And that's, if I can just have a little bit of that when I go, when it's my time, then I'm happy with that.
Awesome, man. Legacy, legend. You want to be the voice in a young person's head in your family that's like, yo, what Grandpa Kawa do? Like, like I better do this right now, because he's looking at me right now. I love that. That's good. That's the stuff that matters, man.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, man, 100%. Our impact. What are you up to these days outside of the symposium? Where can people find you?
Well, so a little bit of bad news. Friday, yeah. So I'll say this: 17 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles tendon in my left ankle, and that was a tough one because obviously I was in the military, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was in my window to get out and everything. That happened. And then I had to go through this crazy surgery to get it fixed. And then even then they were like, you're probably never going to run again. And I was like, man, that sucks. Like, what am I going to do? I'm just like this young Marine. I can't even go back into the infantry if I can't run. So I was like depressed. And then I went through rehab, 8 months of rehab. And towards the end of rehab, I was like, nah, dude, I'm good. And so I went and tried out for Special Forces and I became a Green Beret. So obviously they were wrong about that. So that happened 17 years ago when they tried to tell me I couldn't run again. So what happened Friday, 17 years later, is I was at the gym pushing a sled on the turf like I do every week. And this is not a weightlifting thing. This is just a cardio thing for me. It's just to get my heart pumping, get my legs moving a little bit. And on my way back down from pushing that sled, I heard this familiar pop, and I felt this familiar sensation of like burning in my ankle. Immediately knew what happened. I ruptured. So on Friday, I ruptured my other Achilles in my other foot. And I went immediately to the hospital. And then, they were quick, man. They were like, you got surgery on Monday. So like this Monday that just passed, I had surgery. It was a success. It went quick. Everything was cool. And now 17 years later, because, everything's advanced technology and all that, instead of 8 months of rehab, I got 12 weeks or 3 months of rehab. And then I'll be back at them at 90%, kind of easing into it till I get back to 100. So that is what I'll be doing for the next 12 weeks. Is pretty much that. I may even show up to the symposium with a boot on just to be safe. But don't worry, guys. We're not slowing down. We'll be good by then. But yeah, man, that's me. That's me now. So
outstanding. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I know when you heard that pop, you were like, again? Like, is this really happening again?
I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, how can this happen again?
Oh, that's crazy, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're the man. You've proven him wrong already once. You're gonna do it again. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna roll one more preview real quick as we roll out here, but real quick, so everyone can see what we got coming. With this Protector Symposium, it's an honor to have you on this card, man. This is a
thank you for inviting me, man. Thank you for the consideration. I'm excited. I'm super excited.
No, this is gonna be good. This is one of the most stacked cards I've ever come up with. I don't even know, honestly, man, y'all. I don't even know how I'm gonna have to beat myself next year with this lineup. So
y'all come back.
Yeah, man, I'm about to bring a couple dudes back, man. But it's I'm looking forward to this event. Your answers tonight have been extremely thoughtful, extremely well thought out. There's a lot of wisdom in this conversation, you guys. If you tuned in late, go back and listen to the beginning. Because content like this is hard to find. Real content from real dudes who have really been there, done that, and are contributing positively to the space. So it's an honor and a privilege, man, to be a protector, to do these things with you, brother.
Yeah,
so
thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
100%. So you guys go to protectorsymposium.com, get your tickets while we still have space. And as we roll out, y'all, I'm going to play this last little video for you guys. And
get hyped.
Get hyped, get up. I like my music on these things. Boom. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, the Protector Symposium 5.0 is finally here. The Protector Symposium is a quite legendary live event that goes on in the protection industry, where I bring in about 5 of the world's top protection trainers in various disciplines.
The infamous Craig Sawman Sawyer is going to be in the house, and he's going to be laying down some wisdom about what it takes to be a modern protector. He's got an amazing background: Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6, sniper. He's got expertise in shooting, surveillance detection, anti-terror task force operations.
Next up, we've got Raul Martinez, who's going to teach you the art of being able to implement, regain control of your firearm in the clinch. Do you know how to actually pull that weapon and implement it in close range? Can you get it back if something happens to it? Next up, we've got Ed Calderon, the infamous, who's going to teach weaponology, which is one of my favorite courses, because I believe this course is maybe more dangerous than 90% of the courses that I have taken over my professional career. You're going to learn the ology behind weapons. Next up, we've got Kawa 2 Alpha 2 Quit, who is a Green Beret who's been teaching elite fighting forces the art of close quarters movement, close quarters battle, how to fight with a gun inside of a building. Last but definitely not least, we've got the infamous Instructor Zero coming to us from over the pond. It's an honor to bring him in. I've been wanting to train with him for a long time. He's going to be teaching us how to fight around vehicles. Where do 80% of force encounters take place? They take place in transitional spaces, on your way from your office to your car, on your way from your car to your house, at the gas station. Watch my tactical protection reviews and you will see that 80% of those vehicles are outside around vehicles. Boom! So we're back. All right, brother, man, this has been an amazing time. All I got to say is thank you so much for your time and attention, brother, and for joining forces with us on this thing, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone who attended and asking questions. Hope I see you guys there. I see some familiar names here as well. So thank you to my people for joining us. Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm excited. I know this is going to be so awesome. I can't wait to see all you guys again. and meet some of these guys. Actually, I've never met Instructor Zero, so it'd be cool to meet him and chat with them and all that. But yeah, man, I'm hyped, dude. I can't wait. Boot or not, I'm showing up. So
yeah, that's what's up. We're gonna tear it up, man. This is good. All right, brother. Well, it's an honor. You guys go to protectorsymposium.com, get those last few tickets, and I look forward to training with all of you as we make the world a safer place by helping good people to become more dangerous. Boom.
Yes, sir. Cheers, guys.
Woo!